So, I'm just going to start off by saying that I'm really happy with these most recent Digimon episodes. I feel like each one has just been getting better and better, and it's been a really enjoyable arc to follow so far. This week's episode of Digimon Adventure Colon starts off with Skull Knightmon arriving with Hikari and the moon version of Millenniummon to the ritual site. The kids aren't too far behind them, but they're not able to catch them in time before Skull Knightmon evolves back to Dark Knightmon and begins the ritual to revive Millenniummon. Taichi, Sora, and Takeru arrive at the ritual site to rescue Hikari, but they're soon intercepted by Dark Maildramon and an army of Vilemon. The party fights their way through the enemy, but Taichi's not able to reach Hikari in time before she lets herself be absorbed inside Skull Knightmon. Certain that Hikari is waiting for him though, Taichi and the others keep fighting to save her. Inside Skull Knightmon, Hikari finally reaches the source of the voice that's been calling out to her. She first sees the tail ring before the rest of Tailmon materializes, and the kid and Digimon are finally united. But Millenniummon is still trying to absorb their energy. Taichi and Wargreymon break into Dark Knightmon, rescuing Hikari and Tailmon while destroying the enemy and interrupting the revival ritual. However, this isn't the end of it, since Millenniummon's followers are sure that there's going to be another opportunity to revive him pretty soon. So honestly, there wasn't a whole lot that happened in this episode, but I still loved it for a lot of reasons. The first thing that I really liked about this episode is that it wasn't all just about one fight. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but let me explain. Every single episode of the series so far has centered around a battle. This is the first episode where, even though there was a battle in it, it wasn't entirely focused on that battle. Honestly, the battle in this one is kind of lame compared to some of the others, but that's not what's important. The episode was about the rescue mission for Hikari, and that's what the focus was on in the entire episode. The battle was just an extra part of it. Additionally, what I did like about the battle was that everyone was partaking in it. We have Sora and Garudamon fighting Dark Maildramon, Takeru and Pegasmon fighting off the army of Vilemon, and Taichi and Wargreymon going against Dark Knightmon to rescue Hikari. Everyone had their own jobs in this episode, and it was awesome to see. This combination of characters is also one that we never really saw in the original series, which is pretty interesting to think about. In the original, Yamato was always very protective of Takeru, so Takeru didn't really participate in any of the actual battles. In this one though, since Yamato has been separated from the group, Takeru is having more of a chance to stand on his own with Pegasmon and actually do some stuff. It's actually pretty refreshing to see. Speaking of being separated though, I am actually eager to see what the other kids have been up to. It's a bit interesting to be something that I'm complaining about, but I would really like to see some longer segments of what's going on with like Mimi or Joe for example. They seem to both be having their own small little adventures going on, and the more clips they show, the more interested I am in what's going on. There were a couple of other things that I wanted to mention too, because I thought they were just really cool. First, the additions to Wargreymon's evolution scene were awesome. I really hope that all of the kids are going to get a similar sequence with their Digimon's Mega Evolutions, but we'll have to wait and see. I think having them all do that in the big fight against Millenniummon or some other villain would just be really cool. I also really loved seeing Brave Tornado from Wargreymon too. I'm happy that we aren't just seeing the same moves over and over again from Wargreymon, and that they've been showing some variety with him. Though one thing I will mention is that it does seem like his size has definitely shrunk compared to the previous episodes. I can't really fault Digimon for being inconsistent with sizes though, since that's basically been an issue for decades. Now, the last thing to mention is the core, in more ways than one, of this episode. Tailmon. So, I guess the Skull Knight theory was correct after all, which is pretty much what I expected. I still thought it would have been cool if Dark Maildramon was Tailmon, but it definitely makes sense that Skull Knightmon was the key here with how much focus the show has been putting on him. Currently though, it doesn't seem like Skull Knightmon was an evolution of Tailmon, but rather he just somehow absorbed her at one point. It's a bit unclear right now, but I'm sure we're going to find out a whole lot more about that situation in the coming episodes. My theory right now is just that Millenniummon somehow abducted the weakened Tailmon from the Ancient War, and planted her weakened state within one of his generals the same way that Devimon was basically the warden for Angemon. Skull Knightmon was likely more powerful because he was able to siphon the energy from Tailmon, but Hikari awakening Tailmon seemed to interrupt that, allowing Wargreymon to break through and rescue them. So all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. I've already said it before, but I'm super happy with the quality of these episodes lately. The Wargreymon evolution episode, the Pegasmon episode, and this episode have all been among my favorites in the series so far. And now that we have Tailmon in the party, I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. Hikari still doesn't have her Digivice, so I'm assuming some sort of conflict is going to happen in the next episode that's going to lead to that. But we'll see. What did you all think of this week's episode though? Are you excited to see Tailmon finally? Why or how do you think she was being held inside of Skull Knightmon? Do you think we may see some similar development with her as we did with Patamon? And maybe an alternate evolution or two? Leave your thoughts on that, or anything else, in those comments. Thank you as always for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one.